It is very difficult to keep track of all of the digital accessibility laws across the globe. But there is one really convenient aspect to this all, and that is that material compliance largely comes down to WCAG conformance. So what does this mean? This means that if your website is WCAG 2.1 AA conformant, if your mobile app is WCAG conformant, if your platform is WCAG conformant, then you are very likely going to meet the bulk of the material compliance requirements for all of these different laws. And it doesn't matter which law it is, because accessibility comes back to the same fundamentals and the same principles over and over again. So even if the web content accessibility guidelines don't apply to your type of digital asset, you still want to pull from those principles that are found in the web content accessibility guidelines and apply those same considerations to your digital asset. Now, of course, compliance with the laws will usually include more. So you may need to have an accessibility statement and or a public or possibly internal accessibility policy. You may need to provide accessibility support. And then there are usually some type of administrative requirements. So this could be filings, this could be documentation, etc. But the main point here is to make sure that your digital experiences are WCAG conformant. And so the current version of WCAG is 2.2, and the conformance level that the laws look to are conformance level AA. If you can strive for AAA, that's even better. But 2.2 is already it's quite an endeavor to get to 2.2 conformance. And the 2.2 just recently was officially launched. And so the previous version was, of course, 2.1. So even if you've become 2.1 conformant, that is going to be really good. And that is where I would start, is with version 2.1 conformance level AA. But if your organization is looking to be in compliance with these various digital accessibility laws across the globe, then look to WCAG conformance. And that is going to satisfy the bulk of requirements for compliance with these various laws. So that actually makes this all very convenient. We know what to head towards. We know the path forward. And then the rest is just going to come down to making sure that we are following these best practices. So it's already a best practice to have an accessibility statement. And it's already desirable to have an accessibility policy, because we want to have a policy that is guiding our internal actions. And then, of course, we want to provide support. So if somebody needs support, we always want to make sure that is available so that we can help them in the event that anybody needs, let's say, an alternative format for a document, et cetera. We always want to make sure that's available. So we have assistance available, and that's going to be available through our accessibility statement, and then possibly in other places, but definitely in our accessibility statement. And then we want to fulfill any administrative requirements. So this is where your in-house counsel, your compliance officer, they're going to be aware of the various boxes that we need to check in terms of making sure that we filed all of the appropriate documentation, making sure that we are documenting the steps that are required that we are required to file, et cetera. So we just need to look at the various laws and make sure that we're meeting the admin requirements. But again, the feature story here is WCAG conformance. So we're going to look at our assets, that receive the most attention, look at the assets that we rely upon the most, and that's where we're going to focus our efforts. We want to make sure that we are WCAG conformant, because that is largely going to take care of the material portion of compliance with all of these various international laws. So we could be working with the European Accessibility Act. We can be working with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. It could be Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, we're always going to look for these specific laws to know the various requirements under each law. But when it comes to accessibility, we're always going to focus in on the web content accessibility guidelines, and let these guidelines and the principles from these guidelines guide us in how we make our digital assets accessible. If you have any questions about compliance, I will include more information below. Feel free to reach out to me. And today we've covered digital accessibility compliance for the laws. And again, it's actually really easy, because we just have to work from the technical standards and make sure our assets are accessible first, and then follow down the bullet points and making sure that we're meeting these different bullet points and accounting for all of the different requirements within the respective laws.